If you're there watching live, say hello. I think I'll be able to see the comments. I'm streaming through Ecamm, um, so I think I can see where the comments come up. Okay, so I am going to teach you today about a tool that I use in my practice, um, not only with my clients, but it's something I use for myself. And this is a very powerful tool. And I didn't even realize, I'm sorry about the lighting too. I didn't even realize it was something that I learned actually as when I was in my graduate program. And I don't know if you've ever heard, and this is more of a therapy term, but cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And so now it's a form of that. But anyway, this model, which I have learned from one of my mentors, Brooke Castillo, is a self coaching tool that literally will can change the way you see everything in your life. So I'll start by telling you that so there are five aspects of our lives that so everything in our life can be categorized in one of these five things, and it's either a circumstance, a thought, a feeling, an action, or a result, right? So let me relate it to relationships. Um, so first of all, so often we are living in automatic pilot. We're not really aware of our thinking. And, when we're in relationship and we get triggered with somebody, our husband, we react in a way with either frustration or anger, and so often we're just focused on that person and the pain that we believe they are causing us. So what I want to share with you and offer you today is that nobody, and I'm sure you've heard this before, nobody makes us feel a certain way, right? Nobody makes us feel a certain way. Our feelings come from the thoughts that we think, right? So if we put everything in that model, circumstances are facts. Uh, Circumstances are things that we could all agree on. So, for example, it's raining outside. We could all agree that it's raining. Um, let's see, the grass is green, if it's in fact green. We can all agree that the grass is green. That's a fact. That chair is brown. We can all agree on that, right? So those are the circumstances. It might even be like your husband said these words, circumstance. We can all agree he said those words. Then we have a thought, sentence in our head, a thought. We think a thought about that circumstance, which creates the feeling that we have. And then that drives our action, and that creates our result. Okay, so let me say that again. So, for example, if your husband says words like, I don't like that dress, right? That's a circumstance. He said, I don't like that dress. We have a thought about that. So maybe your thought is, that was really rude, or that was really disrespectful. And then we feel, what do we feel? We feel angry, maybe we feel hurt. And then what do? Maybe we lash out, that would be the action, or we withdraw, or we walk away. And then the result is what? Like there's like a disconnect between you and he. So a lot of times it what happens in couples that I work with is, and I was there once, is we tend to blame the other person, mostly our husband, but it could be if maybe you have a difficult relationship with with a friend or a coworker or with your mother. Um, and we tend to blame the things outside of ourselves. We tend to blame our circumstances for the way that we feel, right? So, what I want to offer you today, and this is a way that um, we actually empower ourselves when we stop living in reaction to our circumstances and stop believing that other people make us feel a certain way. We actually take back our power. So, nobody makes you feel a certain way. Again, it's like a circumstance is a fact, it happened, and then we have a thought about that. So when you say, my husband hurt my feelings, or my friend hurt my feelings, or my mother hurt my feelings when they said X, right? If we put that in the model, the circumstance would be, my mother said, I don't like your haircut, or your haircut is too short. That's something my mother would say to me. When I get my haircut really short, she thinks, oh, I don't like it. So that is the circumstance. She says words. I have a thought about those words, like, oh, that was bitchy, or why would she say that to me, or that was really hurtful. And then I feel hurt, I feel upset. Um, and then I'm saying, in my mind, I'm thinking, my mother hurt my feelings. But here's the thing, all thoughts are a choice, right? We can't control people outside of us. We can't control the circumstances in our life. But what we can control is the way that we think about things, right? So I could just as easily think, oh, isn't that interesting? She thinks my hair is too short. Like, I don't have to make that mean anything about me. That could just be her opinion and her preference. Um, but it doesn't have to mean anything for me. So I get to decide how I want to react or how I want to respond to that. So often in couples relationships, especially the couples that I see in my office, they're very reactive to each other. One says something and it triggers the other, and then they start going at it, right? And they don't know how to break this pattern. Well, the first step to breaking this pattern is being aware of the thoughts that are creating your feelings, that are driving your actions, right? Because if we stay in the place of thinking that our partner, the other person, is making us feel a certain way, then we have to control that other person so that we can feel better, right? And that's a pretty hard thing to do because, like, if we step back, I said we can't control another person. So if we can't control another person, let's think about what we can control. Then we get to take back our power. We can control our thoughts. So when he says X, my husband says something, I feel triggered. That's actually a moment for me to go inside and find out what I'm thinking that's causing me to feel that way. Husband says words. What are my thoughts about the words? Right? So that really is the first step to breaking out of these habitual patterns of reacting to each other and our habitual patterns of thinking, right? Because we're so programmed to think a certain way and we never question that. We just go on automatic pilot. So this model really helps to break things down and help you be more aware of the thoughts that are that are creating your feelings and driving your actions. So anytime you want to know like what you're thinking, start with your results. What results do I have right now? And so for somebody I'm working with, it might be me and my husband argue all the time about everything. Okay, so those are the results I have. So what is causing that? If we went backwards, the actions are, um, we keep I attack and criticize my husband based on what feeling? Based on feeling um, hurt or feeling rejected, and based on what thought? Well, what he doesn't care about me, or he doesn't respect me based on something he said. But again, if we fully believe that our thoughts are optional, we get to decide how we want to think about anything. So, anytime we're experiencing a negative emotion, you want to ask yourself, what am I thinking that's causing me to feel this way? And if you decide that you don't like the emotion that you're feeling, you can change the way you're thinking. And so, I know it sounds like really simple, and it can be, but it requires practice. Because what happens is, if we've been in the habit, which we all have, of thinking a particular way about something, then changing that thought pattern takes work. It takes practice. It takes um, doing thought work every day, or every time you get into a negative interaction with, whether it be your husband or a friend or your mother or whoever, and you get triggered. That's the moment that you want to step back and find out what you're thinking. The go-to, the default, is to blame your partner for how you're feeling. But I want to repeat that if we are always blaming our circumstances for how we feel, we're always going to be at the effect of things that we can't control. For example, I can only be happy when my husband does X, or when he changes and does the things that I want him to do, then I can be happy. But what's really happening is that you're having a different thought, right? So, for example, I want my husband to be more affectionate. Um, and right now he's not. So my thought is, he doesn't love me, or I'm not a priority, I'm not important, or something. You might have thoughts like that, which make you feel unloved or unimportant, right? But so the reason that you want him to do that thing is because of the way you think it will make you feel. But what's really true is that you will have a different thought. So, say, for example, husband is affectionate, and you have a thought, oh, he really loves me. I must be really important to him. What if it were true that you were important and he loved you, even if he wasn't affectionate, right? So that thought is available to you at any time. He loves me and I'm important to him. And when you think that thought, how do you feel? You feel loved, right? So it's just, the circumstance is always neutral. Then we have a thought about it, and the thought is what brings meaning to it, right? So often when I'm sitting with clients and they are getting into it with each other, say one partner says something and the other partner reacts, I will ask the other person, what are you making that mean? In other words, what are your thoughts about what they said? What are your thoughts about what they did or what they didn't do? And that's what makes the meaning, right? So, I mean, if you truly want to feel better, the way to feeling better is changing your thinking. It's not changing your circumstances, because again, we can't control our circumstances, but we can control the way we think about it. So, I just want to recap that the model is CTFAR, circumstances. Then we have a thought about the circumstances, which create a feeling, which drive our actions, which create our results. So if you did nothing but just think about the top level of that, that circumstances are neutral and then we have a thought about it. So I know it's a lot, like the whole model. So if you just think about circumstances being neutral and then you give meaning to it when you have a thought about it, and just kind of focus right there and become more aware of your thoughts, of those habitual thinking patterns that are creating the negative emotion. So that would be a really great place just to start if all of this feels like a lot. So I'm so curious to hear your feedback or know what you think. Is this something that you already knew in terms of our thoughts creating our feelings and circumstances being neutral? And if not, if this concept is new to you, what do you think? Does it resonate with you? Does it feel like empowering? Does it feel like I don't really buy that? I don't believe that. Um, just drop some comments and let me know, because I know it can be kind of a hard concept to get your brain around when it's first introduced, which is why I'll probably be doing additional trainings on this concept in particular. But yeah, if you want to share what your thoughts are about this, I would love to hear them and love to respond to them and find out whether or not you think this would be useful for you. So that is all for today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Monday and enjoying this gorgeous summer like day. All right, take care.